Hi, good evening. Today is February 11th. S&P 500 traded in a similar manner today as yesterday. After a narrow 10-point range overnight, we have again sold off at the open, just in a slightly smaller range, 35 points. It then rebounded around 25 points to close around 39.10, plus 6 points since yesterday. Nasdaq had a 75-point run up, and Russell underperformed for the second day and closed with a little down day, 0.22%. S&P 500 opened up today with yet another gap up if you consider regular trading hours. And according to the sentiment trader, over the past months, S&P 500, Q, and IWM have all gapped up at least 0.2% at the open, on average 14 times. This is a new record since the funds are in existence. So it seems like a lot of movement is happening overnight. Bitcoin made new highs today at 48, and Ethereum as well tested 1800. Well, of course, cannabis or pot stocks sold off today, and many ponds were going around. They get smoked or grounded after flying high yesterday. I couldn't resist. And TLRY is one example, was down 50% today. It's the biggest one-day drop that have reversed pretty much all of the huge gains of 50 and 40% for the last 2 days. Like I was saying yesterday, it seems that those pump and dump moves are really accelerating. Today, we finally got an answer to the question what everybody was asking: why didn't GameStop stock issue shares when they could, when the price was flying very high? And according to them, they didn't want to issue shares due to the regulatory restrictions, because they were in possession of significant information about their finances that were not made public yet. But they could have pre-announced the earnings and still issued shares, but I guess they didn't want to take that chance. So they were very conservative, unlike many other companies before. Tesla did this, and even Hertz did this. And they issued shares, tried to, in the middle of bankruptcy proceedings. The notable IPO today was Bumble. The dating stock today traded as high as 79 after the IPO price was confirmed at $43, way higher than the original $30. And they closed at $70, still up over 63% since the IPO price. And that's all I've got for today, Victor.
Yelena, you once worked for a dating site. How was that?
I never worked for a dating site. I actually have never been on a dating site.
How did you meet your husband?
It was dating, but it wasn't a site. It was way before the internet, many, many years ago, before the internet had any dating sites. So it's a totally different experience. But I have many girlfriends who have met their husbands on the dating sites. And yet many still who saying that they're completely useless. So I think it depends. But if I were dating, I definitely would try them, because as far as I see, it's just a game of numbers. The more people you meet, the higher the odds of meeting somebody who you like. But there are so many of them, and new ones coming up, and Hinge is the one that's very popular right now. That's why I think the Bumble IPO is just obviously way too overpriced, because there's nothing really special about them, except that only women could initiate dating.
Well, you probably wish to know where the market is going in the next 20 days.
Definitely.
I wish I knew,
I'm sure you
but
have some suspicion.
I do. I have a suspicion and it's not good. The market doesn't like to go in one direction entirely because then they can't jerk the weak out of positions. In general, everybody will be is very happy now. We closed within 1 point 3 days in a row, so the market has sort of reached equilibrium, but it's up substantially since January. It was 37.23 as of year end. Now it's 39.09. So that's 150 out of 39. That's a nice 4% rise. If we just keep going up, there wouldn't be an opportunity for duplicity for the public to do the wrong thing. During 2020, the brokers added 6 million new accounts. And that's fantastic for the infrastructure because they tend to buy based on names and memes, as you said in the cannabis stocks. We saw that in GameStop.
Right.
And looking at what's happened when the market has been up 3 to 5% as of the middle of February, it's been very bad for the market in the next 30 days. But then again, after it does what it's supposed to do, we'll go back up again. So we're in one of those situations where the bull market has reached equilibrium at 39.08. We had yet another 20-day high today. The markets had two big up opens. I don't expect anything for the next 3 days. I looked at since 2011 and the last 11 years there've been 47 occasions where in each of the last 3 days, the market's been between +3 and -3. Quite neutral for the next 3 days. I guess we have a holiday and the European markets are bringing up the rear. On the positive framework, woke is increasing. For example, there was a bill that to make all the Confucius firms, those are firms that had a ownership with from the Chinese Communist Party. There was a bill to censor them, to delist them, and that Biden said that he thinks the evidence was such that it will make some senators change their mind. There was very fine presentation by the Democrats because they left out the main part of the president's speech was that he wanted all the people to go peacefully to the Capitol. I still ask why Washington mayor refused to have National Guard there, but of course now we have them. I think it was very significant that Mark Cuban flirted with the idea of banning the national anthems. Oh yes, notice that I made the mistake of referring to the fact that it's freezing all over, that they're having the lowest temperatures in many years, especially in Australia. And how is it in Florida? Still the same?
Nice and beautiful.
Nice and beautiful.
Warm.
A major part of the woke agenda is that we're having climate change. Of course, they they don't call it global warming as they did before, but now they say there's climate change. Meanwhile, crude is set a new high about 10 days, and school closings are still growing apace. The unions are making all sorts of demands. Of course, as long as the teachers get paid, I guess they're happy. But the current administration is refuses to clamp down on the unions and demand. They're talking about 1 day a week of in-person.
It is such a shame just what they're doing to the young people. And while Nancy Pelosi, the government, Biden, whoever, teachers' unions are responsible, I still think the parents are the ones who ultimately are responsible. Because if the parents really cared about those kids, they would have organized, demand something. But I guess it's easy for me to say I don't have kids. But if I did, I would definitely homeschool them because schooling in America, especially lately, is they're not teaching science, they're not teaching math or periodic table or any kind of useful or relevant information to life. They're basically teaching them politics and which side of politics is the correct one. They're writing essays on Kamala Harris, insurrection in Washington, while kids can barely do math.
Well, that's woke. That's good for the market.
Right.
That's why I don't think I think we'll see something very mild in the next few days, and then it will go down from there. Just to give everybody the fear of losing money. This is great. This is a great thing for the infrastructure. All the new investors are
Right.
buying stocks based on names. They pay a tremendous bid-ask spread.
Right.
The SEC and the CFTC are holding hearings. Presumably, they'll exculpate GameStop and the brokers from preventing buying. They did that in silver in 1980. In fact, that was the start of my study of ecology and its relationship to the market. We've been in a market where everything is, there's a lot of food. The predators are having a ball. We're at a stage where the the prey are very easy to kill now. So this is ideal for the infrastructure.
Right. Even CNBC noticed the other day that the new SPAC deals that we talked about, the speculation in SPAC, that they have a record average jump 6.5% on their first day, which is a 6 times increase from historical level. And lots of retail are buying those vehicles, and they most of likely will lose money on them. And that's coming from CNBC, which I find strange that they're warning people about those special vehicles. But everybody thinks it's like a game of mutual chairs, which we had before, where everybody thinks they would have time to exit those trades. Yet, as we could see with TLRY today, for example, um, a stock lost 50% of its value in one day alone. So I'm not sure how everybody thinks they could exit those tiny float special vehicles or microcap biotech stocks that also rallying thousands of percent. Once people actually want to exit them, they drop 50% in a day and in a week 90% like GameStop.
We're in the ideal situation of the top feeders for the infrastructure. And eventually they will lower the boom on all the weak. That's all that I see. It's too bad about the kids not going back to school. I mean, each year of non-interactive, non-teaching, of distant schooling will lead about to about $80,000 a year of lifetime earnings. There were two things that we had from last time. We discussed the the bad advice, the bad example that the sage of Nebraska provides for everybody. And his favorite indicator is the relation of GNP to stock market values. And Tobin originally came up with that. It was never tested. I think from the first time it was tested, the market's probably gone up 500 or 600%. But yet he's still out there talking about the sages, about his favorite indicator keeps going down. Part of the reason is the debt that companies have. But I think even more than that, profits keep growing more than output, because they've learned how to take advantage of the government. We also have Bitcoin at 48,000. That's really a Sogi number. And Bitcoin tends to go up over the weekend, so I wouldn't be surprised if we summit 50,000 very shortly. I believe there's a general tendency to, just like the market bobbled around, and 7 or 8 times it went below and above 3,900. We saw many instances where the 3850s were a temporary barrier that got eviscerated. That's it.
Right. And more news are coming about various companies adopting Bitcoin. MasterCard, PayPal, and one of the banks, and all of the threats of all of the regulators that Bitcoin is currency for money laundering and other criminal activities. All of these threats seem to do nothing to the price of Bitcoin, because people think that regulators cannot really do anything to them.
It's too widespread. It's dispersed. Can't be killed by a single predator, as Peter Thiel said about PayPal. If he knew what it would be like to start it and all the obstacles that would be put in his path, he probably wouldn't have started it. But he got it so big, so fast, that there would have been a backlash against the regulators, especially, for example, Louisiana wanted to ban the IPO. But it would have created a lot of negative feelings, lost votes.
Right. I think Bitcoin is different, though, because PayPal is not really a threat to a banking system. It's just part of it. Versus Bitcoin is a threat to the banking system as it is right now.
PayPal was a big threat to a lot of the banking intermediaries, and there was quite a movement to try to put it out of existence, but
right,
it was able to withstand it.
Right.
In any case, we have We have a half a day tomorrow of trading, and I hate those half days because it can't give you a feel for a rudder as to what the public is doing wrong, what they hope is going to happen. But one thing for sure, we will be here on Monday. Unless there's a big day tomorrow, there's nothing more to say except that we're in a bull market and eventually it will come to an end. So maybe we'll skip tomorrow unless there's unusual down day. Have a good weekend, Yelena.
Thank you. You too. You deserve a long weekend. We've been working hard on the podcast.
We try.
We
We
try.
try.
Good
Okay,
night.
thank you.